What's up, guys? As you can see, we're not in the studio at home. We're actually at the Abilities Expo in Chicago. And this podcast is going to be a little different. It's going to be like a speedcast. The sound is not going to be as great because of how wide open this space is. But I hope you guys enjoy it. Please enjoy this Life to the Max speedcast. What is up, everybody? It is Life to the Max podcast, and we are at the Abilities Expo in Schaumburg, Illinois. And today it is June 20th, 2025. It's a Friday, and I have the man of the hour. He can say his name pretty quick.
Thomas Daniel Queter, never quitter, rarely quieter.
So is your real last name Quitter?
Queter.
Queter?
Yes.
Okay.
It's from Old French. It used to be a verb, quitter. It means to free.
To free? All right. Well, tell me a little bit about yourself, man.
So I'm the founder of the Mobility Independence Foundation, THEMIF.org. And I founded it to create open source hardware for DME, like wheelchairs.
Yes.
And I did that because I was actually trapped in my apartment for 5 years. Because the systems in New York told me I couldn't have an adequate wheelchair and offered me a range of wheelchairs that would have led to injury and going to the bed. And most of us with disabilities know what going to the bed means, right? That's the end.
Yeah.
And I wasn't ready for the end. So I created teams. I created a team of engineers and outreach professionals to develop what I'm sitting in, which is our flagship prototype, the Endurance Power Chair. Good for 30 years, completely repairable, made from off-the-rack components and materials. And any community typically has the skills to put it together.
Okay.
In fact, in Arizona last year, we were at a STEM center that teaches high school and college students tech. And we're telling the president about what goes into this product, which is open hardware.
Okay.
And he pipes up and he calls a 16-year-old from across the room, tells that 16-year-old everything we just told him, and asks that kid, how long would it take you to build this if you had all the parts in front of you? And the kid thinks about it for a minute, shrugs, and says 3 weeks. Now, typically, people are waiting 1 to 3 years for a chair through the system. That's the average.
Really? Wow.
And, if we can do this in a matter of weeks, why are we waiting years?
Yeah, and I hate that. I'm very lucky. I'm a veteran, so the VA takes care of it. But I hate when I hear that about the disabled community, how much more you guys are, how much the disabled community is neglected. It's very sad.
But the reality is that most of these are pre-made and sitting in a warehouse, and we're waiting on bureaucracy, approval.
Yeah, there's probably more supply than demand.
Right.
100%.
And the regulations and rules on durable medical equipment can put these companies in such a box that they're not able to reach outside that box and create better equipment. We most often hear from them, we wish we could do better. Right?
Absolutely.
Think about that in this realm. Our mobility, these big corporations wish they could do better. And the rules that we put in for quote unquote safety, which is an oxymoron because wheelchairs make the top 30 most dangerous consumers goods list. Guns don't. That's quite the comparison right there.
Yeah.
And reality is I'm a farm boy. I grew up on a farm. Everything I loved was outside, and I was trapped in my apartment for 5 years. Everything that was my purpose was on the other side of a wall.
May I ask what happened to you?
I was born with a congenital disability known as osteogenesis imperfecta, or brittle bones disease is what it gets called a lot. Mm-hmm. I've had about 2,000 fractures in my life, but they don't hold me back.
2,000 fractures? Yeah. Holy man, dude, I just talked to someone who had 100 surgeries.
Yeah, I've only had a handful of those.
That is That's insane, man. And you still persevere, go outside. So where did you grow up?
Upstate New York, the edge of the Catskill Mountains. And that's the interesting thing about this product. It's open hardware. So when we release these designs at the end of the year, anybody can go on the internet, our website, get that design and facilitate the build. You can raise the money to buy the
Yeah,
parts. You work with nonprofits that are already working to repair wheelchairs. They can help you. They have the skills. Your small fabrication, welding, auto repair, all of these shops that we already have the ability to put this together. And most of them, because they're in their community, they
yeah.
know who you are, they'd be willing to pitch in.
So what's the difference between your chair and like quantum impermobile?
I'm glad you said quantum. So our mechanical engineer, who has full body CP, by the way, we were in his shop last year, and he points to the prototype that he's helped us develop, and he says everywhere. And he
Yeah.
points to a quantum that he's got sitting in his shop because he also repairs things for other people. And he says mall, right? And that's if you can even get there. The difference is that I can treat this chair like a four-wheeler for 3 days in the Catskill Mountains before I have to charge it. And then it only takes 6 hours to charge. We can use better tech that's off the shelf and readily available than what these companies are allowed to use.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's absurd that you have to wait 3 years for a wheelchair.
3 years if you're in a Medicaid, Medicare managed plan.
Yeah.
The interesting thing there is, well, it's black and white on paper who has to pay for your chair. They actually spend that extra year arguing over who pays for it. That's bureaucracy.
Yeah. And bureaucracy is terrible. It really is it's all about money and capitalism at the end of the day. So I totally understand where you're coming from. And I think it's great that you're trying to help out everybody out there who can't get a wheelchair because no one wants to be bent down.
Well, and not just can't get a wheelchair, but, WBUR out of Boston reported recently that 50% of all wheelchairs break down in a 6-month period.
Yeah.
The average wait time for repair is 5 months. So you gain a disability when you already have a mortgage and a spouse and children.
Yeah.
And as an advocate for 28 years, I'm saying you will lose them. You will lose them.
Yeah.
And then you will lose your mind, right? Because
it's sad. Yeah, no, when you lose your spouse and when fortunately for me, my girlfriend left me 2 months into my car accident. Well, I'm a veteran from the military. Yeah, and I was driving home and I switched seats with my buddy. I said, "Wake me up when we get to Chicago." I woke up in a hospital like 3 days later. Couldn't breathe, couldn't move, do anything. It was crazy. Paradox.
I'm sorry you went through that, but hey, look at you now. You're out and you're doing.
Yeah, no,
right?
And I'm happy you're here, man. You're like really putting, trying to make a difference. I mean, like you mentioned you even combated against Congress.
That is the ultimate goal. So we just started at the film festival tour with our documentary, thepowertomovefilm.com. And it's about why we can't get appropriate equipment in terms of today's technology, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has a cell phone. Hey, look at how fast that's moving forward.
Oh, I know.
Right? 20 years ago, what was a cell phone?
Yeah.
There was a flippy thing that broke really easily. And now these Apple smartphones, you could drop them on the concrete floor and run them over with your knobby wheelchair tires, and they're fine. But, when your wheelchair breaks down, you become unseen and unheard. And in terms of going up against Congress, one thing that we're really hot on is what's called the Medicare in-home rule. And that in-home rule applies to almost all insurance because they're all federally subsidized. Now, the in-home rule states that your equipment only has to be good enough to get you from your bed to your toilet and back.
That's so fucked up.
And
Okay.
the reason I was denied an appropriate wheelchair, which was still on the market at the time, I fought it for 5 years, was because
So you're treating us like aliens.
going outside was not an adequate justification. I live in the country. We burn wood for heat. And apparently they thought that house fires don't happen to people with disabilities. I don't know. But, there's another part of this, too. My father, lifelong farmer, that's his purpose, right? People develop a purpose in life. They have a goal. They have a thing they do. It's what keeps them going and living.
Yeah.
And my father had a stroke.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. After the stroke, he could manage a step or two. So they wouldn't approve him for a power chair. They gave him one of those crappy hospital-style manual wheelchairs to go back home and live on a farm. Now, his purpose, just like when I was trapped for 5 years, was outside, right? His purpose was managing the farm.
Yes.
And I was his daytime caregiver because family all pitched in. And I watched the strongest, hardest working man, also a veteran, give up and die.
For service.
And, he gave up and died because they wouldn't give him an adequate wheelchair.
So I understand you saw a problem and you wanted to fix it.
I do believe in solving problems, right? And so does our mechanical engineer, Devin Hamilton. You can see his company at adapt.com.
I'll make sure to leave everything in the description below 100%. I think it's amazing what you're doing for the community. I don't like these big ass companies like Quantum and Permameal. No offense, nothing against it, because there's a lot of really nice people that want to help people in wheelchairs, but they just get said no.
Well, the reality, though, is they want to do better, but our laws and regulations on this don't allow them to.
Yeah.
And so who are we supposed to be mad at here?
The company or the government?
Congress.
Yes.
When the ACA passed, if you go back in history and you look at the stock portfolios of Congress, that spiked. And what people forget about the ACA is that it was not written for us, right? I was covered for a wheelchair, just not one that wouldn't kill me. The reality is that the ACA, 85% of it was written by Republicans in the 80s to bolster profits for insurance companies.
Yeah.
And the Democrats call that their big win. And so which side are we supposed to believe in this? Are any of them on our side? That's the real question. Are any of them actually on our side as the people of this country?
So what I noticed becoming disabled is that the first community that gets hit the most whenever something happens, say the stock market crashes or there's a terrorist attack, it's the disabled, 100%.
We get forgotten and left behind in natural disasters. You see this with hurricanes, Katrina.
Yeah.
All kinds of living institutions full of the elderly and people with disabilities were just forgotten or abandoned.
Yeah.
Actually, it happened in Helene, too, in West Virginia. A friend of mine wants to develop a rescue boat for wheelchairs because of how many people he saw in institutions that weren't being rescued.
Well, there's so much more I could talk to you about, man. Are you in the area or do you live in New York?
So I still live in upstate New York, but in the last 2 years, I have crossed the Mississippi 16 times.
Well, my friend, if you ever want to come on the podcast for a full interview, I would fly you in if you're okay with that.
I can't fly because wheelchairs are the number one most damaged luggage item. I drive.
I will pay for your gas, and I have a place for you to sleep and all that stuff. It's an honor meeting you today. What was your name? No offense. Sorry. What was your name?
Thomas Daniel Quater.
Thomas Daniel Quater, who is not a quitter, by the way.
And rarely quieter.
Rarely quieter. Yep, and he's a farm boy at large. And you're going to continue doing that. And I love what you're doing for the community, man. Do you have anything you want to say to the people out there?
I say the same thing that I say to anybody in any place where there might or is a group of people with disabilities. If you have a problem, there is a solution.
Yeah.
And the best way to approach that is to build teams, go after it, find your tenacity. Do not give up. When you stop, that's when it ends.
Yes. That's beautiful. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you. Yeah, the podcast. Everyone like, comment, subscribe.